This episode of Us and Them is supported with a grant from the Claude Worthington Benedum Foundation.
And these old country roads. So I'm in Pocahontas County, West Virginia. And it's really beautiful here. It's a overcast day. I'm following Mike Holston, and he's taking me up to his place. And Mike is pulling off here. He wants to show me something. Hang on. We're just a few miles from the Virginia border. Pocahontas is a rural county in the Allegheny Mountain Range. There are just 3 towns, but this West Virginia county has nearly 60 unincorporated communities. I'm here to find out how Mike and his neighbors connect with the rest of the world. So what are you showing me?
Well, of course, we get our internet over copper phone lines. Look at the phone lines. You see the pole laying on the ground?
That white pole over there?
Yeah, that's our telephone. This is the lack of service that doesn't help the fact that we don't have good connectivity here. Lack of maintenance, lack of infrastructure.
I just want to make sure I'm seeing this right. So basically, this is a pasture of a cattle farm.
That's right.
And there's a telephone pole that's just laying there on its side. And so basically that means that the line is just sagging down.
They probably tied it to those farmers' fence posts just to keep it off the ground for right now. But the same has occurred all the way up through this line. And this is the service, not only for the landline phone, which is all we have here because we don't have cell service, but it's also what carries our internet signal.
That's right. Mike gets his internet connection from a tipped-over telephone pole lying in a cattle field. From West Virginia Public Broadcasting and PRX, this is Us and Them, the show that tells the stories about the things that divide us. I'm Trey Kay. People in big cities have high-speed internet service. People in small towns often don't. It's been that way for a long time. Fast broadband comes in different forms through cables, fiber optic lines, digital subscriber lines, satellite, and over power lines. Many just think of it all as Wi-Fi, the signal your computer picks up. Some people call the difference between fast and painstakingly slow internet the digital divide. Others just call it downright unfair. Imagine trying to work or go to school or consult with a doctor or stream a movie or sign up for a COVID vaccination without a fast internet connection. It's not too different than trying to read a book in the dark. You just can't. In this episode, we look at West Virginia's Broadband Internet Challenge. It's a digital divide that plays out different ways across the country. But first, a little history. In 2007, the governor of West Virginia was a Democrat named Joe Manchin. He's one of the state's U.S. senators now, and a powerful one. He's a moderate in the Senate that's divided 50-50. That means he can get pretty much what he wants. Here's what Joe Manchin said about broadband while he was governor in his 2007 State of the State address.
Our goal as an administration, working with this legislature and service providers, is that by 2010, all West Virginians will have the opportunity to use broadband at home and at work all over West Virginia.
Let me repeat that. By 2010, all West Virginians will have the opportunity to use broadband at home and work all over West Virginia. That didn't happen. But why?
So, in this age of the pandemic, this is also my office.
I'm inside Mike Holstein's house.
Anyone who can work from home has to work from home.
It's a big place. Lots of space. He's got an external 3-car garage tucked into a mountain. There's even a nice duck pond outside his window.
So hopefully I have connection. It's been going out a lot this week for some reason.
Mike settles into his chair and gets going. He's a burly guy with a bushy white beard, and he wears a camouflage ball cap as he works.
So my email program is up and running. Ooh, it's doing all right. Okay, so let's try to download a spreadsheet.
Mike works as a business manager, so he uses spreadsheets a lot.
Okay, so right now I can't connect. Let's see what's going on.
So that little chime, is that the thing that tells you can't connect?
Right. I get this error message. An error occurred while reconnecting. The network path was not found. Connection has not been restored. So let me...
The pauses here, this is all real time.
Let me try to reconnect this way.
This is what it takes for Mike to boot things up and open files. All this waiting? Man, it feels like an eternity to me.
So how often do you hear that sound and exactly at what point do you start cussing?
Well, I hear it about 3 or 4 times a day. And
I've heard it more than that just sitting here with you right now.
And I'm to the point where I start cussing as soon as I hear it the first time. It's just so aggravating. All right. Okay, so it does look like I'm on. And let's go to...
So you've clicked on to, it looks like
an Excel spreadsheet, yep.
Okay, it looks like it pulled up.
Well, that's the preview.
The preview? Not the document?
So it's still working on downloading it.
I'm trying to be polite so I don't say anything, but I mean, oh my Lord.
You're sitting here. Are you basically just sitting here because I'm here, or would this take time? Would
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here because you are, but there's nothing else for me to do. So this would be a bathroom break, or it might be grab something to drink break. Because I have no idea how long this is going to take. Hopefully it's just another couple of minutes, but you never know.
Mike has been advocating for better broadband here for years. He's a citizen member of the West Virginia Broadband Council. I mentioned Mike's job earlier as a business manager, but I haven't told you where he works.
You're standing on top of level 4 of the Green Bank telescope, the largest fully steerable radio telescope in the world.
This is Mike appearing in a YouTube video produced by Vice.
We're standing directly under the reflector for the main structure, which is 2.4 acres in size.
The Green Bank telescope is just down the road from Mike's house in Pocahontas County, West Virginia. He appears in lots of videos like this, explaining what happens at the Green Bank Observatory. I've been there, and let me tell you, it is truly impressive. It's a giant white telescope that listens for sounds of life from galaxies outside of the Milky Way. The observatory receives most of its operating revenue from the National Science Foundation. A couple of months ago, scientists and engineers there helped make this happen.
Current velocity is 83 meters per second at about 2.6 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have confirmation that the back shell has separated. Current velocity is about 75 meters per second at an altitude of about a kilometer off the surface of Mars.
Scientists watched.
UHF is good.
And they celebrated.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars, ready to begin seeking the sands of past life.
NASA and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California were key to making Perseverance happen. But folks at the Green Bank Observatory helped.
Hey, everybody! We did it!
This is Jill Molesky. She works at the Green Bank Observatory, and this is from their coverage of the rover landing.
I'm just waiting with bated breath for Amber and Will to be able to turn back on the cameras for the Green Bank control room so we can hear from them. I'm sure they're still busy and hard at work, but super duper excited. So we'll be going live to them at any minute.
On the day the Perseverance landed on Mars, Mike Holstein was working from home.
But I do everything around the computer. I sit here so long that my butt gets sore, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, so if I include my signature, it says at home trying to work.
Is the operative word trying?
Yes, the operative word is trying.
What does that mean?
As far as the anyone external to my house is concerned, meaning anyone I send an email to or have a meeting with or whatever, maybe I'll be in it and maybe I won't because of my internet connectivity.
Coming up after a break, why is Mike Holstein's internet connection so slow? And can it get any better? You're listening to Us and Them. This program is supported in part by the West Virginia Humanities Council and the CRC Foundation. This episode is supported with a grant from the Claude Worthington Benedum Foundation.
Music lifts us up and brings us together, even when we can't get together in person. Mountain Stage brings you live performances on the air, online, and in our podcast. They remind you how it feels to be in a live audience listening to live music. This is Larry Gross, host of Mountain Stage. Find a link to our stations and our podcast online at mountainstage.org.
Hey, you're listening to Us and Them. I'm Trey Kay. To give us some perspective on why tens of thousands of West Virginians lack reliable high-speed internet, I turn to someone who's covered the industry quite a bit.
I'm Lucas Manfield. I'm a reporter, write for the Mountain State Spotlight, Charleston, West Virginia.
The Mountain State Spotlight is a nonprofit news service. Lucas has written a lot about the struggles to bring broadband to every hollow in the state. In 2010, the year West Virginia was supposed to get high-speed internet to everyone, the telecommunications giant Verizon sold its landline business in the state.
Well, basically, even a decade ago, it was pretty obvious that the landline phone business didn't have a great future. Verizon wanted out, and Frontier basically opted to buy the entire landline business in West Virginia.
Frontier is Frontier Communications.
It was kind of a heated debate at the time because the landline phone business is a highly regulated business. And the regulators basically allowed it to happen. But they were worried because Frontier, and Verizon for that matter, didn't really have a great track record at doing this sort of thing. And so they basically added the stipulation saying that if you're going to do this, at the very least, bring the internet to a vast majority of the people you cover, which ended up being a vast majority of West Virginians.
In your reporting, do you feel like West Virginians, the leaders of West Virginia, did they have kind of like a forward-thinking understanding of why broadband was necessary?
They were worried at the time, which was the whole reason they created this stipulation. You could definitely say that they didn't think it through quite enough because they didn't put any requirements on how fast that internet had to be. And so that ended up being the major problem, is that Frontier basically did what they said they were going to do, but then didn't keep the speeds up to date with what we would consider reasonable internet speeds.
Today, the best way to get a fast internet connection is from a cable television provider or a company that provides a fiber optic connection. But in rural West Virginia, it doesn't work that way.
Part of the problem is that because Frontier was a phone company, they thought of delivering internet over the phone lines, and that just turned out to not be a long-term solution.
So wait, walk me through that again. So basically the infrastructure that Verizon had was lines that were either on telephone poles or in the ground that were basically copper wires?
Yeah, I mean, the copper telephone lines are what you think of when you think of telephone lines everywhere, up in the air. It's a difficult technology for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, it's highly prone to being damaged in storms and, highly unreliable, but also it's just not very fast. You can't really send that much data over it.
I'm curious, when Frontier came into the system here in West Virginia, did they understand that?
I mean, it's hard to say.
In April 2020, the company filed for bankruptcy protection in federal court.
There had been at least one major shareholder lawsuit, basically accusing Frontier of, large-scale negligence in allowing that bankruptcy to happen. And one of the accusations was that Frontier knew how badly it had messed up its West Virginia rollout and shouldn't have continued to trying to expand after that. There have been witnesses that have said that Frontier's business practices in West Virginia were poor. Frontier would disagree with that and say that the economics of the business were against them. Obviously, the landline business is not a great business, and it's a tough business to be in.
It's tough on customers, too. The Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, estimates that 18% of West Virginians lack high-speed internet. I asked Lucas about that.
Yeah, I mean, no one believes the 18% number because that number is based on data that is self-reported by Frontier. Yeah, most people believe that the real number of people in West Virginia that are experiencing speeds slower than that definition of 25.3 is far greater than 18%.
25.3 is an industry term. It means internet speed of 25 megabits of download per second and 3 megabits of upload per second.
And the state has run its own speed tests. They find that the average speeds for Frontier customers in most counties across the state is around, 10, 11, 12, around that range.
Oh, that's the speed, right?
The download speed. Yeah, so essentially half the FCC definition.
Mike Holstein's internet speed is even slower. Last time he checked, Mike averaged about 5 megabits per second while downloading data, and about 0.6 megabits per second while uploading data. And yet, Frontier continues to run television ads like this one.
Your internet service is horribly slow and terribly unreliable.
Yes, Joan. It's time to make a change.
But don't worry. There's Frontier fiber optic internet. It has 25 times faster upload speeds than cable.
Woo! And you can use all your devices at the same time.
And look at weird stuff like me all night long.
Wow, that is really weird.
All night long.
That's right, Joan.
We all agreed.
See the light. Switch to fiber. Frontier fiber optic internet.
So, why hasn't high-speed internet found its way into the homes of West Virginians like Mike? What exactly happened in the 10 years since Frontier bought Verizon and promised to bring broadband to its customers? Reporter Lucas Manfield says it's not for lack of money. In 2010, West Virginia got $126 million to build a high-speed fiber internet network. The state gave a third of that to Frontier. Manfield says it's been a disaster.
There were so many aspects of this that were scandalous. The biggest one was that Frontier essentially promised to provide open access middle mile fiber. And what that means is that Frontier was going to build the backbone of the internet in West Virginia. And it turns out after, the inspector general, years down the line, people started asking, okay, where is this thing? And the inspector general kind of released a report. And it was pretty damning that showed that, Frontier wasted some of the money. The federal government demanded some of the money back because Frontier claimed that they had built fiber that didn't exist. But perhaps more importantly, it didn't turn out to be open access. So a lot of the local companies that wanted to use this backbone to make their own local fiber networks found that Frontier, or they claimed that Frontier was charging them, exorbitant rates to do that, which fundamentally defeated the point. Because it allowed Frontier to essentially retain their monopoly in the state and prevented the competition that people argue now is necessary to kind of bring prices down and ensure decent service.
Well, and in 2015, the federal government gave Frontier $38 million. Now, that's in addition to what they received back in 2010?
I believe they gave them $38 million a year. Which adds up quick. Yeah, Frontier has gotten hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government. Basically, the FCC runs a program, and arguably a very good program. The FCC is devoted to, they really want to solve this digital divide problem. And so essentially they charge a surcharge on everyone's phone and internet bills that it basically goes into this pot and then gets distributed to telecommunication companies like Frontier in exchange for serving customers that may not necessarily be profitable to serve if it wasn't for this subsidy. So Frontier has essentially earned hundreds of millions of dollars to do that in West Virginia. And of course, the issue has been that they use this money to continue providing DSL, which has turned out to just not be a technology that really works.
It sounds like the world wants automobiles, and they're basically investing in horse and buggies, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially been what's happening in recent years.
After talking with Lucas Manfield, I wanted to hear from Frontier Communications about its business in Pocahontas County.
Hi, my name is Allison Ellis. I'm Senior Vice President of Regulatory Affairs for Frontier Communications, and I have responsibility for West Virginia.
Ellis says West Virginians have some misperceptions about the state's internet business.
What a lot of people don't realize about Frontier is that although we have infrastructure across West Virginia, we actually only serve less than 10% of all internet customers in the state. Our competitors, who are the cable, satellite, and wireless companies, generally don't serve rural areas because state officials haven't required them to build their networks outside of the most densely populated areas that are the least expensive and most lucrative to serve, where there are a lot of business customers.
Ellis says Frontier has expanded its service in rural parts of West Virginia, and it has improved service to some customers. For rural customers, short of paying for a crazy expensive satellite connection, Frontier is the only choice. I asked Ellis why internet is so slow in rural West Virginia.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but we recently made a commitment to this state to expand gigabit-capable fiber optic broadband services to 150,000 rural and urban locations. We expect this expansion to have a real impact and are confident that West Virginians will see the value in it.
How much of that 150,000 is done?
We just announced it in 2020, so we have started the planning process, and we expect to begin construction on the first phase in the coming months, in the coming weeks. But it as you, I'm sure, can appreciate, to do 150,000 locations, more than half of which will be in very rural communities, it's not something that can be completed in a year.
Do you have a time when you think that will be done? When will that be completed? I think a lot of West Virginians would like to know that. I think that would instill confidence.
Yeah, our commitment is to fully complete that within 6 years.
Ellis says the company will invest $200 million for that fiber optic service expansion. In the meantime, Ellis says Frontier expects to emerge from bankruptcy protection soon. I wanted to visit with more people in Pocahontas County. Is it just Mike Holstein living in the horse and buggy internet world? Or are other people having the same experience?
Thank you.
All right, hey, thank y'all so much. Hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, we will.
I'm at Dean's Den. It's a tiny little store that sits on the bend of an old country road. It's kind of like a country store or an old filling station, just off the road, with places for about a dozen cars to park on gravel.
My name's Andrew Dean. I own Dean's Den, a restaurant and gourmet grocery store in Frost, West Virginia.
Describe Frost, West Virginia to somebody who never been to West Virginia and maybe listening from some other part of the world.
The most rural, absolutely most beautiful place you could imagine. We are pretty much downtown Frost right now, and this is it. Dean's Den.
I just want to make an observation here. There is no town here. This is basically, I think this is the only business establishment that I saw either going that way or this way, at least any place that was serving food.
Right, absolutely, yeah. So we're the only place within about 12 miles, I would say. Up north towards Green Bank, there is some convenience places to eat. As far as businesses, there is Green's Auto right down the road. There's, of course, the Frost Church up the road, and then the Volunteer Fire Department, and that's about it. That's it.
Describe what you do.
So I run Dean's Den. We've been open about 2 years now. We decided to carry a good selection of organic goods, gluten-free, whatnot, to the local community that usually these items are not available at the local grocery store. I am a certified chef as well, so we decided to do some upscale menu items. So we do have a full menu that we serve on a daily basis as well.
Dean's Den is a small, charming place. There are 4 tables inside so folks can eat what Andrew cooks up that day. There's also picnic benches outside, which is where Andrew and I talked. I enjoyed speaking with him about his place, but I also wanted to know how much of his business relies on the internet.
The majority of the time, I don't have complaints about the internet. Now, that's probably 70 or 75% of the time. Literally, the rest of the time, we are either without or it doesn't work very well. Since the pandemic has began, we probably have lost internet service, a cumulative, I would say, maybe 2 to 3 weeks worth of outages.
How does that impact business?
Oh, it's insane. It's it can drop my revenue by $500 a single day.
So walk me through that. How could it make that big of an impact?
People are afraid to travel. People are afraid to go out, especially in the very beginning, when there is no phone service and there is no Facebook and there is no internet communications. People can't really put an order in if they're scared to travel. There's quite a few people that are afraid to come inside. It really does have a significant effect.
But you don't live right here, do you?
No, I live 2.5 miles just down the road here.
So how is the connectivity there?
So this is where it gets a little bit fun. So I canceled my service with Frontier Internet years ago. I canceled my telephone service because they made me grumpy in the first place. Frontier has been dependably unreliable as far as service goes.
Dependably unreliable.
That's correct, absolutely.
That seems kind of like an oxymoron, right?
So from where we are, I can kind of explain the internet service and why this building works so well. From here, you can't quite see it, but right around the bend is the internet box, is the box for Frontier Internet. Now we're literally about 250 yards from that box. The internet here works so well because of our relativity and distance to the box.
You're close to it.
Very close. Now the people right over across the way, just a few houses down, their internet's a little bit faster than here. Okay? And it all has to do with distance from the box. Now, my home address, like I said, is just about 2.5 miles away. Internet is almost non-existent. And they were basically charging me the exact identical price for internet at home as here. It didn't work. I mean, if you wanted to watch Netflix, that's a laughing matter. You couldn't watch Netflix. There was no video calls, not even possible.
So no Zoom calls during the pandemic from your house?
Nope. So I haven't, like I said, I haven't had Frontier in quite a while. Instead, right now, I am paying a satellite internet provider $250 a month for internet that most of the time works fairly well. Still pretty slow, but it works.
$250 a month?
That's right, yep.
Why does rural West Virginia need more robust broadband?
I think making a differentiation between the city and a rural area, as far as connectivity is, I don't know the word. I hate to say ignorant. People need connectivity no matter where they live. People operate businesses, their livelihoods on the internet these days. It's just like telephone. Back in the day, it was only special people and, it was a brand new technology when it came out, but it has become since then a simple human right to have telephone service. It is a necessity. It is something that's necessary. And just because you live in the country doesn't mean you should have slow internet. I mean, it should be something that is universal across this country.
Andrew Dean might not have to wait too much longer to get a speedy internet connection. As part of the COVID-19 Relief Act, the U.S. government is spending $4 billion to get more Americans faster internet. President Biden's proposed infrastructure bill promises even more money for broadband, $100 billion. That bill must first pass Congress. In West Virginia, the legislature kicked around several measures to improve rural broadband. One would give customers a credit or a refund for interrupted service. It would encourage pipeline owners and railroads to donate right-of-way for broadband and allow the state's new Office of Broadband to apply for grants. Mike Holstein, the guy that we met at the beginning of our story, says the change can't come soon enough.
Just as the United States electrified this country in the 30s, broadband is at that point now. It's such a necessity of life. It's not a convenience anymore. It's not a luxury. It's become a necessity for so many things that we do that we have to put our heads down and our noses to the grindstone and our hands to the hammer, and we have got to figure out a way to provide that electrification system to broadband connectivity today.
If it does come, entrepreneur Andrew Dean believes it will be a giant step forward for the local economy.
I think it would bring more business into Pocahontas County. Definitely just here at Dean's Den, we've had quite a few people come in inquiring about the area, people interested in buying land. The number one turnoff for people is the lack of internet. People ask me about connectivity, and I am very honest with them. And I always advise them, if they do buy a house in Pocahontas County, be closer to where the internet boxes are, as funny as that sounds. If you need connectivity, that's where you need to be.
For rural residents in West Virginia and across the country, the hope is that proximity to a box won't always be necessary for high-speed internet service. You've been listening to Us and Them. Our team for this show is me, Trey Kay, Todd Melby, Brad Stratton, and Kate Smith. Special thanks to Ken Ward Jr. and Erica Peterson at Mountain State Spotlight. Michael Lipton and Tristan Lozow wrote and performed the Us and Them show music. Mark Lerner designed our logo. Lelena Price provides us with images for the web. The wonderful people at PRX and West Virginia Public Broadcasting make Us and Them possible. So do grants from the CRC Foundation and the West Virginia Humanities Council. This episode was made possible by a grant from the Claude Worthington Benedum Foundation. Us and Them was originally developed with assistance from the mentorship program at AIR, the Association of Independents in Radio. Stay connected, everybody. We'll see you next time on Us and Them.
Support for this podcast comes from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.